freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and today we are looking to the future. It is never too early to predict what's going to be happening a year from now and what we're going to be talking about a year from now. That's exactly what we're going to do. Joining me to prognosticate, Mark Immelman is here. Hello, Mark.
Just to confirm, so that means we're going to be around in a year to talk about this stuff, because I figure we can be replaced by AI eventually, huh?
Holding thumbs that a year from now we've still got.
Crossed. Yeah, I hold thumbs, you cross fingers, right?
That we've still got an opportunity to do this. Greg DuCharme is here. Hello, Greg.
Gentlemen, I'm looking forward to this as always. And, you know, it's one I kind of wish we were doing after Christmas because I asked for a crystal ball. So we'll see if I'm able to get one. But still, I don't think for this we're going to need it. I really like the predictions that I have. I think some of you are crazy because mine are correct.
If Santa does come through with that crystal ball, we'll allow you to amend any of your selections in the new year.
Deal.
Patrick McDonald rounds out our crew for today. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Rick. Hello, Greg. Hello, Mark. For those of you not watching on YouTube, we were talking before. Mark's wearing a wonderful pink today. Just looks absolutely stunning on him. I don't know why he doesn't wear bright colors more often.
I'm channeling my springtime here for our prognostication show. You know, I'm forward thinking to the Masters. I'm wearing Masters colors.
Yeah,
Got to get in the zone.
He's blooming down there in the lower left-hand corner of your television screen. Gentlemen, we are going to get to news before we get to the predictions. But before we get to that, I've got a couple of housekeeping items. We are stuffing the ballot boxes, the best golf podcast in the Sports Podcast Awards. We are begging for your vote. I think that's fair to say. Go on, use the link in the description. You'll see it on Twitter. You'll see it on Instagram. It takes 30 seconds. Give us a click. That voting goes for a couple more weeks. But why wait? Why do something later that you could do right now while you're watching the show? Fire away. Additionally, fire away to Josh's inbox, firstcutpodcast@gmail.com, because on Monday of next week, which is the 23rd, right before Christmas, right before Hanukkah. I heard that Hanukkah and Christmas fall on the same day this year.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Don't quote me on that, but I think I heard that. So the 25th, big day. And we're going to have a mailbag episode that we're going to answer so many questions. We might start on the 23rd and we might go until the 25th. That's how crazy we might go. Firstcutpodcast@gmail.com. Get your questions in. We'll do that on the 23rd, which is Monday. Okay, gents, let's jump into a little bit of news here. Since the last time we chatted, a showdown happened. Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler beat the snot out of Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau around Shadow Creek in Las Vegas. Patrick, it was an early eagle putt from Rory that stole a hole. I believe it was the fourth or fifth hole. Never looked back, did the PGA boys.
To quote the Live Golf Twitter account, the game of golf and its fans won tonight. Yes, the competition, there wasn't much of it. Yeah, obviously the PGA Tour boys took care of business. Brooks and Bryson looked a wee bit rusty. Neither of them had played competitively outside of the hole-in-one challenge for quite some time, but we kind of talked about this last week where people hype up the banter, they hype up the trash talk, and then it just never comes, right? And it got to a point, these guys were playing so bad, Bryson DeChambeau took his mic off, right? The content king wasn't contenting, and I honestly thought it was kind of a bit of a bad look. So a lot of people seemed to like it. A lot of people didn't like it. I fall in that boat. It seems like I'm getting gaslighted by people saying this is amazing, this is going to save golf, these exhibitions are great, don't even get me started on TGL. But for me, it was just like another sideshow that really didn't need to happen.
I quite enjoyed it, but I don't think I went as far as saying this is the future of golf and this is going to save everything. And it was the thing that I've ever seen. Mark, a little bit of rust indeed from Bryson and Brooks. And we did not get the trash talk, which is fine. I'm happy with that. I don't need the quips back and forth, but there were a lot of lift out putts, a lot of short putts missed. Par won a few times, but we did see all three Ryder Cup formats. We saw 4-ball, we saw the alternate shot, and then 2 singles matches to close things out.
Yeah, we did. Here's my take on the whole thing, because it's the first one of these I've watched in a while. And we had said this in the setup show to the thing, that it's not going to replace golf. And for all the folks that are hoping that, to use Patrick's term, the side shows are going to make, bring more viewers to the game, I just kind of don't think they're going to. Now, you got entertainers like Charles Barkley. I thought he was fantastic. But as far as the golf went, I kind of enjoyed it. I will say this. Here's my take, and it's open for people to come after me. The match was essentially over after the 4th hole, because when you're playing formats like that, where they're breaking it down into 3 matches of 6 holes, the first match is basically done. And then you basically got to get a couple halves or whatever, and then you win the entire thing. I think what should have been done, maybe this happens in edition number 2, is you play as if it's an 18-hole match, and you just change the formats every 6 holes, so you're not earning points. That's number 1. Here's my take. Because Bryson and Brooks were outmatched. You can say what you like about lack of competitive play. Yeah, that's a thing. But, when you're going out there to a new golf course, you just got to be able to play. And Scotty and Rory are two of the best that they are right now, if not the best. Xander has something to say. But I do want to draw a comparison, because this kept coming to me as I was watching. When Rory and Scotty, and this is my opinion, have at me, are playing their best, Rory is the best player. When the two of them aren't playing their best, Scotty is the best player. That's why when the two of them get together in a 4-ball, you got to be Jesus and somebody else to take care of them. That's how good the two of them are together, because McIlroy was swinging with a freedom that was, to me, something I hadn't seen since he was about 19. And this is the kind of Rory I've been waiting for. And every putt he hit was rolling at the hole, and he just looked like he was there to let it hang out. Scotty looked a bit more defensive, but in the end, it kept on occurring to me that that's how Scotty plays. Scotty doesn't make a mistake. He'll kind of just wear you down, where Rory will come out like in a blitzkrieg and get a massive lead and then kind of hold on to the thing. So it was fun to contrast the two of them. And then as far as Bryson and Brooks went, Brooks looked completely disinterested. Now, if maybe they were up after the first few holes, that wouldn't be the case. But Brooks in a thing like that, that's who he is in major championships. Remember, he's the guy who's like, well, I just come here to play. I'm going to outlast you. So I didn't think he had the attitude for them. And then when they get quickly down, it was dead and buried in that golf cart over there. So I enjoyed it. It was fun for me to contrast Rory and Scotty.
Who is the optimal alternate shot pairing for Jesus, Mark? Is it the Pope? Do those two get along well? They play the same ball, complementary skill sets.
Well, I've got to go further than this, because it's the triune spirit, or the triune gods, or the triumvirate. So I'm going to go Jesus and the Holy Spirit. Perfect.
All right, that would probably be pretty tough to beat. Greg, the Scotty Scheffler situation is a problem. He was just hitting everything close. Rory McIlroy's putter was heating up in a big way. We saw a scene where, as Bryson and Brooks were walking to the first tee, they were doing this like, okay, let's shock them early. Let's get off to an early start. Let's do that. Complete opposite, right? I think the PGA guys won each of the first 2 holes. And then, like Mark said, because we were getting the camera shots of them sharing a cart, it was pretty dark days over there on the left side.
Yes, it was. Clearly evidence that the PGA Tour is the better league.
We've settled it all.
In the Showdown.
Clip that, Josh.
No, I'm completely kidding, because this leads to the ultimate point and problem in my opinion, with these types of events. What are they? Are they a competition? Well, no, they don't necessarily mean anything. And you're playing at night, right? You can't, if it's going to be truly competitive, you can't play at night under the lights. It affects the players way too much. And when you only have 4 players on the golf course and you're playing at night, it's going to affect them in a negative way. And, we don't need to add challenges here, right? We need to give these guys opportunities to hit great shots. That's a problem. That also raises the problem of when you're going to air it. You want it to be in prime time, but it's winter. Well, it's the off season for the PGA Tour. That's the perfect time, but you can't do it at noon. So you run into a little bit of an issue there. Is this designed to draw a younger audience? It definitely seems like it is, yet it's on TV, and the younger audience isn't watching stuff on TV. This event would have done better on Bryson's YouTube channel than it did on TNT, in my opinion. So I think there are a lot of conflicting interests where it's almost like they're trying to appease too many people. The need for the trash talk is just quite simply a bad idea. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day about just that. And it's like, if you're watching the First Cut podcast and you watch it all year long, you may get one really funny line from Patrick McDonald. Okay. It's really funny.
Wow. One a year.
Gee whiz.
I'll take it. I will take that.
Yeah, but you got to watch all year to see it.
Patrick, I think you're funny every show, just for it.
I think so too. But the point is, it's not constant humor, right? There are things that come up that allow a quick-witted lad like Patrick to drop a really funny line at a given time. But those come up naturally, and they come up periodically throughout a show or throughout a year. And when you look at a situation with 4 professional athletes playing golf together, they're not going to be trash talking for an entire 4 hours. There may be one really nice line in there because something comes up, something was said at the right time, and there's an opportunity for one to come up. That might happen once, but if you're designing an entire broadcast around that, well, you got the wrong cast, because these guys aren't professional roasters; they're professional golfers. So like, what are we trying to do with this whole thing? And that question, however you want to answer it, like whatever you think is the right answer and the thing you want to see, you may get some of it, but it's interrupted by something else. I think we're just trying to do too many things with, a one single match. That's unreal. It becomes unrealistic.
You're preaching, Brother Greg. I think, look, Scotty is not going to trash talk out loud unless he's with his boys. He's too measured that way. Brooks, same sort of thing. So you got 2 guys that are sort of essentially quiet. Rory will have a little bit of a go. And then it's on Bryson, who I thought had a fantastic retort to Rory prior to the event, where Rory said, I want to get back at Bryson for what he did to me at the US Open. And Bryson's like, look, let's be honest, you did that to yourself. And I thought that was very clever. But I felt like Scotty would have been perfect from him. When we're walking down the first fairway, it's like 60 degrees out, so it's not that cold. And Bryson's walking down there like he's going to the North Pole in that black puffy parka or whatever it was. And I would have went, nice get up, Frosty, or great swing, Frosty, sort of harping on the Frosty the Snowman thing, because there was so much fodder to be had just with that jacket. I mean, you could have labeled him. He would have become a meme. If someone had just said something to that effect really quick, the internet would have went all over that thing.
Yeah, if you didn't see it, Bryson had this massive black parka on very early in the match. 2 observations, Patrick, for me, and then we'll move on here. Number 1, get rid of the AirPods. We don't need the AirPods. We're in the 10th one of this. They do not work. They never work. The players, there's mics all around. We hear everything that the players are saying. The only thing that those AirPods are for is so that someone else can talk to the players. Well, that's why they've got on course people. Someone else can relay that message. It's a constant issue. I don't know why we're doing it. And the other thing, Patrick, is in line with what I think you were getting at with a bad look from Bryson. Bryson has become very, very popular in the last year or two. And unfortunately, the thing that always rubs me the wrong way is he is so likable when things are going his way. And as soon as something goes wrong, he kind of turns into a little snot, quite honestly.
He goes back into his shell. He goes back into hiding into that jacket of his. Like it's a made for TV thing. You're the perfect person for it. You are the best golfer in the world in this situation.
Yes, it's made for him.
Yes, and you take off your AirPod, you take off the mic. I thought it was if I was the people behind it, I'd probably be a little irked about that.
Just a little corny. Just a little more than my liking. And which is when things are going awesome, it's great. But I don't know. I hate when things go sideways for him because we get that kind of crybaby version of himself. We have more LIV to talk about because SBJ is reporting, Mark, that LIV Golf is very close to a deal with Fox Sports. This has been a big discussion. LIV Golf started on YouTube. They signed a deal with the CW that did not always show the golf in all of their markets, nor did it always show all 3 rounds, depending on what market you were in. And Fox Sports is really the one network that has had its hands in golf previously that did not already have other commitments. So it does seem like there's going to be a deal done to get LIV Golf onto Fox Sports in 25.
Is Greg Norman going to be the lead analyst again?
Oh boy, he's got it available. He's available, right? He's got some more time on his hands.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was, I didn't have much thought about it, but my initial reaction to the news was, well, clearly then LIV are going to play in the United States a bit more, which is sort of in opposition to what their mission is, to take the game to the world. Because I watched one or other PSA during the show where they're talking about how LIV is committing itself to being carbon neutral by 2030, and they're going to take golf to all these countries. I was interested at the public service commercial. But so I'm wondering if this is going to kind of be like, when ESPN does Formula One, which they do that tremendously well. And I'm wondering if Fox Sports are going to take that tack about it. I'm keen to know if it's going to be on Fox Sports or if it's on one of their kind of streaming channels too. I mean, there's a lot to be said. It's just, happenstance right now because one of the executives from Fox was out there in Vegas meeting with the incoming CEO of the LIV League. But that's as far as it goes for me. To me, looking at that, if it's truly Fox, there's more LIV golf happening in the States, as if I'm reading the tea leaves.
Trying to get this in front of more eyeballs, Greg, because the numbers on the CW, 200,000 was kind of the high water mark for a weekly basis, often being well below that. They don't even show it a lot of times in the market that I'm in on the CW. So I know that distribution was a big part. Could this help? Could this be a boost? Because we see it at the events and we're seeing it in the ratings as well. There's just not a lot of people tuning in for LIV Golf.
No, and I think there is very clearly a much greater potential that this works. Right, you need to have it in a place that people are used to going to, a channel that people are used to watching sports on. I think that's an important aspect, but it's also a little bit of a benchmark. Right, once you get on Fox, that excuse of we're on CW kind of goes away. Because you all of a sudden have the platform, and can you make it work on the platform? I also think Mark's point about being in the U.S. makes a ton of sense, but I'm not sure that's the case. I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I read in an SBJ article a couple weeks ago that was kind of hinting that this was getting close, that there would be more events outside the U.S. than inside the U.S. Now, that's going to have a really big effect on no matter what channel you're on when it comes to viewership in the U.S. It's one of the things I would caution the PGA Tour to about going more global. If you're going to go more global, it better be in the fall because you're going to lose a lot of viewership in, unless you're in, this is more of a time zone thing than a country thing. People will watch if it's in Mexico. Here we go again. That people will watch if it's in Mexico or Canada just the same as they would if it's in the US. But when you're playing in Australia, it's really difficult for an American audience to get on board. So I think alongside their potential deal with Fox, the schedule will be a really important aspect. And will people be able to get on board and get locked in what, let's say it's 6, 8, 10 events in the US, whatever that number is? Are people going to be able to get on board with that? Because that's a pretty short period of time. At the PGA Tour, you're talking about 30 events through at least 30 events you're going to watch. Can you get traction with 10 from the start? I think that's pretty interesting.
I knew it was just a matter of time before Greg would give us one of his time zone takes, but yes, very, very well said indeed. Okay, we're going to turn our attention towards the future. We are going to do some predictions for 2025, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Yeah, that'll get you all fired up there, Patrick.
Jeez, I'm in the right colors.
You blended right into that ad. The last bit of news here, Patty Ice, is Nick Dunlap, not even 21 years old, not even allowed to have an adult beverage, has been named the PGA Tour Rookie of the Year, twice a winner, thrust right into the big time circuit. Congrats to Nick Dunlap.
Yeah, hell of a year. Like you mentioned, only 20 years old. Should still be in college by all accounts, if not for 4 days in Palm Springs where he dusted Justin Thomas there that final day. Who could forget that shank by Sam Burns on 17 as well? And to win again over the summer is really impressive. So seems like the sky's the limit for this kid. He played well at some really hard golf courses over the summer. He played good at Jack's Place, Quail Hollow, the T5 and St. Jude when his back was against the wall to get into the BMW Championship, play himself into the signature events. So great year. I personally would have voted for my guy, Frenchman Mathieu Pavon. But Nick got 57% of the votes, the rightful Rookie of the Year, and can't wait to see what else is in store for this kid.
Did we get the breakdown of the other 43%?
I'd like to think it was all Mathieu Pavon.
Max Grazerman, Jake Knapp were also on the ballot and in the mix, but you're right, 57%, Mark, did go to Nick Dunlap.
I will say this, as far as my memory goes back, and you can help me with Wikipedia there, this is the first time that I remember in a while that a number of the candidates, the nominees, had all won an event in their rookie year. Dunlap wins 2. Knapp has 1. Pavon had a win. And then there was no.
Well, Grazerman had a shoulda, woulda, coulda. He had a couple of runner-up finishes.
You're right, though, Mark, because a lot of the recent rookies have been winless.
Yeah. Or if they won, it was like they won Barracuda or something. And we were trying to weigh what that was like. The kid from Duke.
It was like Eric Cole, Scheffler won, I think, without a win. Zalatoris won without a win. Cam Young won without a win. So it's been a little bit.
Speaking of winners, we are going to talk winners. Josh has put together a very nice set of options for us to discuss. I will get through as many of these as I can. Some will go fast, some we can go a little bit slower. But Greg, there wouldn't be any other place to start than the major championships. And if you're going to start with major championships, you have to start with the Masters. I'm not sure if you've heard, they're going to hold it again this year at Augusta National. They're going to do it again.
I think that's a good decision.
Yeah, they're going back. And Scotty Scheffler, again, not sure if you're aware, is going to be defending that Masters title. And I'm looking to get your guys' opinion, your prediction on who will Scotty be putting that green jacket on.
Scotty will be putting that green jacket on himself.
Oh, that would be impressive.
I don't think that's how it works. It will be John Rahm putting it on Scotty Scheffler again. I believe. I think that's what they do.
No, defender puts it on themselves. The chairman
They do.
gives it too many. Yeah, he
He
done-
puts it on. Okay.
They should.
Well, it doesn't happen very often.
They should select a patron to do it.
The runner-up should have to do it.
Well, that would be Fred Ridley because he comes out and he gives it to him and he helps him put it on, but he doesn't like put it on him like the champions do.
Okay. So, well, this doesn't happen very often, but I'm looking at, what does Augusta National call for? Great iron play, great strategy. You need a great temperament and a great short game and all these things that Scotty Scheffler is very clearly the best on the PGA Tour at. And that's why he's won 2 out of the last 3 Masters. And the one that he didn't win, where he finished tied 10th, he was the best tee to green in the field and the worst putting in the field. Now, since then, Scotty has made some big improvements with his putting. Last year, he switched to the mallet putter. It helped him win the Masters last year. And I believe that he's made even bigger improvements by going to the claw grip. If you look at his putting stroke from last year, even with the mallet, although it was better, there were still some issues, in my opinion. And I believe those issues will be cleaned up. And I'm very concerned for everybody else who's trying to win a PGA Tour event. You're going to have to look real hard at the schedule and plan it out, because going up against this guy anywhere is going to be a challenge. And I'm really feeling, it's crazy to say this, but after watching the Hero World Challenge, it really feels like last year was, an appetizer. And it wasn't necessarily the best year we've ever seen from Scotty Scheffler. There was a clear area to improve, and I believe he did. So I think Mr. Back-to-Back goes back-to-back at a big one this year.
Wow. Patrick, is that music to your ears hearing all that?
I agree with Greg. Scotty Scheffler is going to win the 2025 Masters. And Greg mentioned that T10 finish. That was also when he was serving as the reigning champion. A lot of extracurriculars he has to take care of earlier in the week. His mind is away from what's going to happen inside the ropes. Well, guess what? When he comes to Augusta this year, he knows everything that's going to happen. He's already done that. And so I think that only helps his case. And I think he's the first since El Tigre to go back-to-back.
Wow. A couple of guys going out on a real limb, Mark. Would you like to get us in a different direction for Augusta National?
It's hard not to go out on that limb, but I'll give you this. 3 folks have won the Masters twice in a row. Jack, Nick Faldo, and Tiger Woods. I don't think Scotty, despite the way he's playing right now, wins 2 in a row. I think he might knock off 3 in 6 years or something like that. But it's amazing this place, how storylines abound, and a player figures it out, then all of a sudden you miss a few putts. And that just adds to the whole, just the hysteria and the history of the Augusta National Golf Club and the Masters. And to that, I think in the season of joy and the season of giving, this festive season now, I'm going to be full of hope when I tell you that Rory McIlroy is going to get his Masters next year in 2025. It's happening. You can book it. The guy that I saw last night, if he can just somehow play alongside Scotty for 4 rounds, and Scotty, he goes to Scotty, he's like, "You just my wingman," and he pulls the thing off with Scotty in second. I think that'd be cool.
We could probably clip every major show, every major prediction, 1, 2, or 3 of us going, Rory McIlroy.
This is the time.
This is the one. This is the year.
But it wouldn't be a show if no one did it, Rick. And I was afraid that no one else would do it. So I had to. I'll happily die on this hill.
Good for you. Much appreciated. I also just wanted to go the non-Scotty route. I said Justin Thomas. Listen, I'm buying Justin Thomas in 2025. He can't putt. I get it, but he had that really good stretch where his finishes at Augusta National were getting better every year. I think he's gonna win a lot in 2025, and I'm gonna give him this one. We're also going to a familiar place. Quail Hollow. Ooh, Quail Hollow, Mark. I mean, that might sound like a pretty good Rory spot.
I would be more likely to go Justin Thomas at Quail Hollow,
Well,
So I'm going to go Rory again.
Oh, Rory's won the first 2 legs of the Grand Slam.
He's going to
Yes, and can you imagine
Hysteria.
it will? I mean, golf social media will become unhinged. I just want to get Kyle Porter back on the show to see what he has to say for then, because who knows? No, yeah, Quail Hollow fits Rory like a glove. So it makes a lot of sense. I like Justin Thomas around there as well. If you really shook me around the place a little bit, I could go, I feel like Max Homa may finally make a real legit run at a major at Quail Hollow, because they all play a similar game where they drive the ball really well. So again, I'm going Rory in the first 2.
That would be amazing. 10 years without one and then 2 in a row. I also went with Rory McIlroy at Quail Hollow. Mark is right. There's nobody who has played as much golf at Quail Hollow at a high level as Rory McIlroy. And I'll say it. It's time. It's the one. He's gonna do it.
He's gonna win these first 2, Rick. And then the whole Brooks Rory comparisons of who's the best golfer of this generation, put that thing to bed right now. That is over by the time the end of the PGA rolls around.
Wow. Listen, I'm signed up for this storyline. I am. I would enjoy it. I don't know if it's going to happen. Patrick, look at you, a changed man. You spent the last 12 months beating up on Xander Schauffele. He beat up on you, and now you've become a believer.
My research for this episode consisted of just running down the major championship winners of 2024. And so your 2025 PGA Championship winner will be Xander Schauffele. He has come close at Quail Hollow these past 2 years, lost to Wyndham Clark, lost to Rory McIlroy. It's only a week removed. It's not like the last time these guys came to Quail Hollow when it was in August, right? It's only a week removed from the Wells Fargo Championship. So I like Xander, and I don't see why he can't go back-to-back. Very boring in the McDonald household when it comes to the major championships.
I was poking fun at Mark for giving Rory McIlroy the first 2 legs of the Grand Slam. Greg, you've given the first 2 legs of the Grand Slam to Scottie Scheffler.
Well, very boldly, I'm anticipating he's able to navigate the legal situation in the Southeast a little bit better this time around. Okay, so I don't think we're going to see Scottie Scheffler in handcuffs in Charlotte this year. I would bet the police force has his picture posted all over the place that it says, "Stay away from this guy." All right.
The problem, Greg, just like Valhalla, where there was one road in and out there that rode past the golf course, it's exactly the same. It could happen.
Well, in that case, he's experienced, and I think he'll handle it a little better. But look, you look at what's so important at Quail Hollow, and distance gets a lot of credit, as it should. Rory McIlroy plays a different golf course than everybody else, but my anticipation is when they tune this place up a little bit extra, they just crank it a little extra with the rough, a little extra with green speeds. I think that could hinder Rory a little bit here. And so now it comes down to, well, you look at the numbers, strokes gained off the tee is the most important. Strokes gained approach the green is the second most important. Well, Scottie Scheffler was second in strokes gained off the tee, behind only Cameron Champ, who I don't even know if he's going to be playing.
I would bet not. No.
And who's the best iron player in the world? Well, it's Scottie Scheffler. And so I think he figures out Quail Hollow has a good recipe, and I do believe that he is a good enough player to win more majors than just the Masters. It's becoming a little knock for Scottie Scheffler. And I think, like I said, last year I was beating the drum that he was going to win the first 2 legs, if not the first 3, if not the entire Grand Slam in a year. But I think he's made real improvements. And I think he pushes us into the U.S. Open with a pretty monumental storyline in the balance.
When we get to the U.S. Open, we'll be in Western Pennsylvania. We're going back to Oakmont for the first time since 2016. That was DJ. I'm going to save us all the time and effort here. Mark, myself, and Patrick went with Scottie Scheffler. Greg went with Rory McIlroy. We've already talked. ad nauseum about those guys. So we can get to the fun randomness of 4 different selections of the Open Championship, which is going back to Royal Portrush. Shane Lowry gets the claret jug. He actually gets to keep it for an extra year because we didn't play in 2020. And Mark, you are going with a selection that would be incredibly popular if it were to happen.
Who finished second at the Open Championship at Royal Portrush? Who was the runner-up to Shane Lowry?
JB Holmes.
Wrong.
Well,
JB Holmes is like the
Finau was in the mix.
And I think Holmes is still playing that final round, actually.
Unless I've lost my mind,
You're right.
It's Fairway Jesus.
Yeah.
And he is my pick to win. He's going to finally get his on a golf course that he's played really well. Tommy Fleetwood is built for the wind. And he just quietly seems to be growing and growing as a player. And he's at a place now where if you see that dreaded list, stars who don't have a major just yet, no one will mention Fleetwood because it's like the tide has gone out on him. So I feel like he comes roaring in like the Northern Irish tide and wins an Open at Portrush and lifts the claret jug.
That's right. He finished 6 shots back. It was a runaway from Shane Lowry, but it was Tommy Fleetwood who finished second. Finau finished third. Lee Westwood and Brooks Koepka in a tie for fourth. I notably, Greg, left out the guy who finished sixth because that's the guy that you have winning.
All right. Well, let's paint the picture now. Okay. Since this is all set in stone, Scotty Scheffler has won the first 2 legs and did not win the US Open. So the quest for the Grand Slam is over. Rory McIlroy and his 10-year major championship drought is over after winning at the treeless Oakmont. And now he comes to his home country with a chance at redemption. Remember last time at Royal Portrush, he missed the cut basically on the first tee. I believe he made 8 on the very first hole and was never able to recover. So there will be a lot of hype on Rory McIlroy. It will be off of Scotty Scheffler, but Scotty Scheffler is not going to win the Open. It's going to be Robert McIntyre.
Whoa.
Now, this is largely because I just think someone every year in a major championship season, there's always someone you didn't expect, with the exception of last year. Xander, Bryson, and Scotty.
Yeah.
But with the exception of last year, there's always someone you didn't expect. And it's going to happen this time. It's going to be Robert McIntyre. His game's so good. I think he gets it done in the neighboring country of Northern Ireland.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is the event that is always the hardest to predict. I said this. I said we're 8 months away. There's going to be half the field that gets swiped by a bad wave. I have no idea. I'm just going to pick guys that I like that I think are trending in the right direction. And I landed on Hideki Matsuyama. I think he's just, again, I've been doing a lot of 2024 review. It's going to be the year of Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa and Hideki Matsuyama. And yeah, Scotty Scheffler indeed is certainly going to be a huge problem for everybody. So I'm going with a guy whose short game is incredibly underrated. One of the best ball strikers in the world. Hope he gets on the right side of the draw and wins something at a major championship again. Patrick, I touted Mark's selection for the Open as a very, very popular winner. I like this guy, but I'm not sure how popular in the game your winner would be.
Well, you mentioned volatility when it comes to the Open, and since the advent of Live Golf, they've had one guy win a major championship every year, I think. Brooks in 23. When did Live Golf start? 22. So these last 2 years at least. Brooks, Bryson, and another European, House Tyrell Hatton, will be raising the claret jug. He is a beast on links golf, an absolute beast. And so you throw in the volatility, that cool head of his, even keel nature, bad breaks, That doesn't phase my guy, Terrell. Not
No.
one bit. And I think he's going to contend in a couple major championships this year, and I think he's going to win the Open.
I think if the Open was at St Andrews, I could really go along with your pick. But Portrush is a different animal. There's a lot that can happen. That can just have his head fall straight off his shoulders in the blink of an eye.
He'll hate the course by like Tuesday, which is exactly where you want Terrell to be.
Coming off the best year of his career in 2024, Tyrrell Hatton is Patrick's selection. Okay, we're going to go a little bit off the wall. Next, we've got Player of the Year. We've got some new household names coming up. We are going to continue to rock and roll. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Sunday, the pressure is on. And when the stakes are high, the elite players shine the brightest. Now that's a CBS Sports Sunday. At halftime of the 425 games, catch a preview of the new series Dexter Original Sin. Now streaming on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
And we're back. All right, boys. I think we can be a little bit quicker here because I still have a lot of places to go. We talked about the major championships, which will likely help decide that Player of the Year. Patrick, you're going to get first crack at this. We already know who you've got winning a couple major championships. Who goes home with that Player of the Year award?
Scotty Scheffler.
That would be his fourth, correct?
Fourth in a row.
Fourth in a row. Greg?
Not one, not two, not three, but 4 in a row for Scotty.
Yeah, we have stayed true to our through line of the major championships and the Player of the Year. So, Mark, that means that you and I landed on a similar name as well. Why don't you tell the people who that might be?
Well, if he wins the first 2 majors, then you got to go that way, right? So Rory McIlroy.
That's right. Rory McIlroy,
How
Scotty.
could you possibly win 2 majors and not win Player of the Year?
It couldn't happen. Impossible.
9% of the vote.
Absolutely impossible. Now, Josh gave us this little one. FedEx Cup champion, which certainly doesn't mean you're going to win the Player of the Year. Would help, would go a little bit of ways. But, Mark, I'm going to bounce this right back to you. Somebody who's had a lot of success at Eastlake.
Yes, indeed. Well, I decided to put aside Christmas cheer and hope and stuff and go with Rory in my heart. I'm just going pure numbers here. I'm doing a Greg DuCharme. This is just black and white. It's like looking at the ledger. There's nobody better at Eastlake than Xander Schauffele. Sorry.
I went with the guy who actually won the tournament, played at Eastlake last year without those silly starting strokes. Colin Morikawa. It's going to be his year. Played well at the new Eastlake. Colin wins my FedEx Cup championship. Gregory. Yeah. This
The
is
only-
you really do think that 2024 was an appetizer.
Yes. This is the only guy that could give Mark's ideal alternate shot pairing a hard time. And that is Scotty Scheffler.
The second.
So just to be clear, that is if I remember correctly, Jesus and the Holy Spirit or
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Scotty Scheffler.
Yes.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Scotty.
Yeah, very, very, very close call across the board there. Patrick, wow, this would be another historic one.
Yeah, I went with Rory McIlroy since I think it's probably just going to be another Rory McIlroy season where he wins a couple times, he contends in major championships, and then doesn't get the job done, but wins the FedEx Cup.
Watch your tongue, you pig.
That would be a very Rory type year. Rookie of the Year. Ooh, lots of new faces. We're getting the guys from Corn Ferry Tour. We're getting the guys from the DP World Tour. We're getting some of these guys straight out of like high school and straight out of college. They're absolutely nuts. Patrick, you get first crack at this one. Who will be the Rookie of the Year in 2025?
I almost went with the Corn Ferry Tour Rookie of the Year, Carl, but I instead went with Rasmus Højgaard, top guy on the DP World Tour this past year. He's going to be in the first 2 signature events. I think he's in store for a massive rookie campaign.
I'm with you, brother. Rasmus is gonna be ready to rock and roll in 2025. Mark, this guy's got a lot of game.
Yeah, I'm kind of prognosticating that Luke Clanton just says, "I'm done with you, Florida State," turns professional and wins the Rookie of the Year. And I got to say this though, it's going to be nip and tuck with my homeboy from South Africa, Aldrich Potgieter. So yeah, Luke Clanton by a nose over Aldrich.
There are a lot of really good options. I'm going with the one that I've been saying for the last couple of years. When he is eligible, he will win Rookie of the Year. That's Frankie Sappin III. He's eligible. He's here, and he is going to be the best rookie in the class. Now, Greg, you'll make Mr. Immelman happy with your selection.
Yes, I will. It is a South African whose name I can pronounce, and that is Tristan Lawrence. And look, I'm the Rookie of the Year award has changed because you have now seasoned professionals who are eligible, and they're seasoned professionals who have played in major championships and contended in major championships. I look at Tristan's game, and I really think there's an opportunity for him to win, and I believe that will be the key. There are holes in his game. There are some things that may lead to some inconsistency, but with his aggression off the tee and putting ability, I think he's got a winning combination there. And ultimately that is going to be the key to unlock a Rookie of the Year award.
He was the only guy at the DP World Tour Championship not named Rory McIlroy who could have won that season-long race. Didn't end up happening for him, but that shows you how involved he was.
And now he's a rookie.
Seems a little fishy, Greg.
It seems unfair.
Seems unfair. Ooh. Wow. Take it up with the new CEO when he gets all comfy. Comeback Player of the Year, which, correct me if I'm wrong, this does not even exist anymore other than the First Cut podcast.
No, Steve Stricker won the last two. So
it was parroted with Steve. Yeah, he can't win anymore.
I don't know how you do it, but it is possible. Now we've got some familiar names here. Mark, you've got a short list. Please present us with your short list.
Yeah, because I love Daniel Berger, but he was outside of the 125, right? So what status is Daniel playing on is my first question.
He made it.
Did he make it?
At the RSM.
Well, I love Daniel Berger, but I'm so leaning to Will Zalatoris. I think it's time now for Will to be past the back injury. You know, the surgery's well behind him. I think we've had a year kind of working into the golf swing adjustments. So Will Zalatoris to do what he normally does.
Yeah, Will Zalatoris seemingly mostly healthy for 2024. I think he had one WD, but he said it was just kind of very, very, very precautionary. Patrick, where did you go with your selection, please?
At first, I went with Hudson Swafford because it was reported that he wanted to come back to the PGA Tour, and I don't think there's a bigger comeback than that. But instead, since that's kind of up in the air, I did go with Daniel Berger. I loved the confidence he had going at the RSM Classic, talking about how if his A game just blows everyone else out of the water in this field. I love that stuff. I know he got some heat for it, but I expect him to not quite get back to the peak of Daniel Berger, but keep that upward trajectory in 2025.
Hudson Swafford finished 55th out of 56 in live golf standings. The only man he beat was Anthony Kim. Hudson Swafford didn't even have a team, right, Patrick? He was playing as a wild card. Had a free agent year, and his best finish was a T35. So it does not seem like he is going to be getting picked up by anyone.
PGA Tour.
Yeah. Exactly right. I also went with Daniel Berger. He is legitimately a top 12 player in the world at his best, and I hopefully see that in his near future, Daniel Berger getting back into form. But Greg, you opted to go for a little bit of a different route. Who'd you pick?
Ricky Fowler.
Oof.
Ricky Fowler had a terrible year, but he started to show signs of his game coming back in the fall. I'm not sure if there was something going on, a little injury or something, but boy, his game really struggled last year. And I think he has a really solid team around him. I think he, much like Daniel Berger, is a far better player than he showed last year. And when he starts to get himself in contention a little more regularly, I think he can go out there and win. I mean, 2 years ago, he's in the final group at the U.S. Open, right? He's put himself in position not too long ago. And last year was very disappointing. But what I saw this fall from Ricky, I think we're going to see him in a Ryder Cup year ironically put himself back on the fringes of making that team.
Oh, that would be another fun storyline that we could talk about.
Talk about the season of hope. Okay, cool.
Yeah, very, very hopeful indeed. Now we're going a little bit more off the board. The even more unofficial awards. Josh has dubbed this one the Shine Again Award. That player who struggled in 2024, who is going to come back and shine brightly like the star that they are in 2025. Mark, would you like to tee us off?
Yeah, I have a short list. I'm loving the way Jason Day is looking right now, and the way he's talking and everything, and the way he's putting. I feel like it's imminent, but I'm living in the season of hope, and so I'm going with Jordan Spieth. I think it's he's back from the wrist surgery. He's got joy. He's got his wedge in the bag. Grooves are freshened and sharpened up. I think Spieth starts doing stuff, and Michael Greller gets a big smile on his face, and we have a couple of wins in 2025.
The game is better when Jordan Spieth is in the mix, and I'm certainly rooting for that. Patrick, you and I landed on the same man. Who is it?
Yes, Victor Hovland. I mean, he was miserable in 2024, Rick. And guess what? He almost won a major championship. He almost won a FedEx Cup playoff event. So the short game is really, really, really bad. But we've seen not too long ago that with Joseph Mayo by his side, maybe they can get things in the right direction. My honorable mention was Patrick Cantlay, though. Been a couple years since he's won. I think he gets back in the winner's circle this year. Maybe a major.
That leaves you, Greg. And I will admit, when I was going through the short list of golfers for this category in my head, I didn't really even think of your guy. And I probably should have because of the pedigree, but that's how far down 2024 was.
Yeah, that's Matt Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Matt Fitzpatrick is down to 42nd in the official World Golf rankings. I believe he started the year 16th. So, that's a pretty significant fall, although it's not a total disaster. He had some nice finishes. He played well at the Memorial, and once he got that driver fixed, things were looking a little better for him. He had some good stretches, but ultimately his ball striking was not up to par for Matt Fitzpatrick. And he's a guy I think of as an extremely reliable, perhaps this comparison should probably go the other way, but an Aaron Rai type of player, right? Who's always in play, always there in the mix, always putting for birdie, giving himself plenty of looks, tournament over tournament over tournament. I think you start to see Matt Fitzpatrick fix that ball striking, get his driving accuracy back on track, get his iron play back on track. And I think you'll see him showing some really consistent performances again this year.
I thought you were going to say reliable, almost too reliable. That's right, where I thought you were going to go with that. Let's add some new household names to the mix. A young or under the radar player that does become a star in 2025. And I'm going to snake this, Greg, right back to you, buddy.
Yes. So this one I find to be interesting. I thought Tristan Lawrence was another good option, but to kind of shake it up a little bit here, I'm going to add another player into the mix. That's Michael Thorbjornsen. Really impressed with his game. He showed flashes of it every year that he's been out on the PGA Tour. This will be his first full season. The winner of PGA Tour U, I think he comes in this year and showcases an extraordinary talent. It's a great golf swing. He showed at the RSM some really solid wedge play to go along with his distance. I think Thorbjornsen has a great year.
Michael Thorbjornsen. That's right. So many of these young guys. Don't forget about Thor. Now, Patrick, this tickles my fancy here. Who did you pick?
I went with young Davis Thompson. I think he is going to win one of the next 20 major championships.
Okay, I'll write that down.
And I think he's going to make the 2025 U.S. Ryder Cup team.
We'll definitely know that before the next 20 majors.
So Davis Thompson is my guy to make a leap, borderline, top 10, top 15 player in the world, end of the year.
Wow. I thought I was high on Davis Thompson.
Guess I'm higher.
This puts me to shame. All right, Davis Thompson. Well, we'll be able to know this time next year whether Davis Thompson was a Ryder Cup, or might have to wait a little bit longer for that first major championship. I went with Max Grazerman. Incredible talent. Had a lot of close calls in 2024. Gets one, maybe gets two in 2025. And Mark, you're going to introduce the world to who?
Great picks by you guys so far. I completely agree. A star to me is someone who kind of transcends the game a little bit. They got some personality. They got a little swagger. They maybe got a look about them. And there's nothing to me like a sweet handlebar mustache. And that is what Chandler Phillips has. First time I watched this boy play was in the Palmer Cup for the U.S. team. He's got all sorts of swagger. He's about 5'10", but he plays so much bigger than what he is, and he's got a lot of game. And I figure after one season on the tour, now he's figured out who he is. He can win. He won in college. He's got charisma to burn. So Chandler Phillips for me.
Wow, Chandler Phillips is Mark's selection to become a new household name. And gentlemen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap on this one. And this one is called The First is Always the Hardest. That major championship. Who of those who currently have 0 will get their first major championship in 2025? Now, I suspended the reality of the picks that we made earlier, right? Which would, I guess if I did that, Mark, I would have chose nobody if I just went with what I did earlier.
Yeah, but it's happening, Rick. This is etched in the heavens. I mean, it's out there. The next year is happening. It's happening.
So Mark went with nobody. Patrick also picked nobody.
I did pick nobody, but in the spirit of this podcast, I added a name, and it's Patrick Cantlay. I think he gives it a good go at Augusta National early.
Greg did the equivalent of the perfect grid, where all of his picks made sense and tied into one another. So, Greg, this is actually just a callback to one selection you made earlier, which is perfectly in line. Who is it?
Yes. Well, the reason for that, Rick, is because they're, like Mark said, they're set in stone. He's just looking at the wrong stone. It's Robert McIntyre. It's already happened. I mean, we're just going to watch the movie now, but the script is written. Robert McIntyre wins the last major of the year and is the only first-time major winner. If you look at a full career, we're not going just last 10 years, full career, first-time major winner.
Wrong script, Gregory. Wrong script you're looking at. No first time.
Wrong.
Well, Mark, I thought you had one. Tommy.
Well, if I was leaning oh yes, I forgot Fleetwood.
Tommy.
I've ruined it all.
I thought you were going to say Rory, Greg.
I've ruined it all. I had Rory everywhere.
Does feel like it. The correct answer is Ludwig, obviously, who already, has contended at a couple of these.
It just doesn't happen this year.
Okay. They're hard to win. There's only 4 of them. There's only 4.
Yeah.
And Scotty and Rory are both going to win the first 2. So I don't know how we're going to figure out the rest of these. But we will check back in about a year's time to see how we did and which stone was the correct stone. Anything else that we can't live without, gentlemen, before we get out of here?
Will we check back in next year?
I don't know.
Only if we're right.
Well,
Only
if
if we're right.
Yes.
If we check back in, it's because someone wants to prove that you and Scotty and all your picks was right on the button. So we won't be checking in.
You know what? Actually,
or if Scheffler drops out of the top 100 somehow.
Actually, I mean, I was like, I don't know how quickly I could find it. Not very fast. I was going to try to pull up last year's prediction show and see what our picks were, but nobody's got that.
Maybe we could take a look at it. If you find them, Rick, send them to me.
All right,
I just want to see.
Yeah, just send them to us.
We'll decide later if it's public or not.
Yeah, no, I had no hope. I was hopeless last December, but I'm full of hope here in 2024.
I'll look. Okay. Remember, our Monday episode, that is the 23rd of December, is a mailbag. And that is the episode that will last you all week long, because it's probably going to take all week to record it because there's going to be a lot of questions, there's going to be a lot of comments, and there's going to be a lot of concerns, and you can send more in now. firstcutpodcast@gmail.com. Send them in. We will do the show for however long we need. For now, big thanks to producer Josh. He does all the hard work behind the scenes. That right there, it's Mark Immelman at Mark_Immelman. Greg DuCharme at The Real GFD. Patrick McDonald at P McDonald CBS. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.